Hello, hello. So today we're going to do some ink sampling. As you can see, I have a backlog of ink samples that I need to swatch out for you guys. I don't think I'm going to do them all today. I might split them up into a couple of different categories because I have some Birmingham Pen Co. and some Warringal and then a couple of other different brands. I have some from Ink Swaps, and I also have some samples that I got from the Desk Bandit. I actually ordered these when I was in America, and when I went back to Australia for a visit, I picked them up just because the conversion rate was good and they have smaller samples, so they were kind of cheaper. So I think I will do the Birmingham Pen Co. ones today, and then I'll do another video for the Warringal, and then maybe another one for this. So let's get swatching. So I think we'll start today with the Birmingham Pen Co. samples that I got. So I actually got these from two different pen pals. We kind of got together after I did my little mixing video with the Birmingham Pen Co. and they said they had a couple that we could trade. So we arranged to do a trade, and actually coincidentally both their names are Abie. So thank you Abie W and Abie R. It's so much fun doing ink swaps, and now that I have all my inks in the fountain pen companion, I'll put a link below to that if you guys haven't heard of it. It's a really great way to track your inks, and you can write whether it's a bottle or a sample or a cartridge, and then when I do ink swaps, I just say look, sort by bottle, and then those are the ones that I have enough ink to be able to swap. And so both of the Abbies did that, so I was able to choose the ones that I wanted to try, and then they were able to choose ones from my collection. So it was really fun. We kind of knew what we were getting, but I was super excited about that. I also like mystery ink swaps too, and the good thing about the Fountain Pen Companion is that it can compare what you already have with what they have, so it's kind of nice that you know, don't end up giving duplicates and stuff. It's just a really cool site. I will definitely link it in the description. It's free. You know, I'm not being sponsored or anything by them. I think they do it out of the goodness of their heart, so it's a really cool resource. And if you're wondering where I got this glamorous ink sample holder, it's from the recycling center, and it's just a piece of styrofoam that I covered in paper. I know, it's terribly chic, isn't it? Anyway, it's great for holding lots of samples. So yeah, let's get started. I'm just going to use this little postcard that Birmingham Pen Co. sent. It's nice and rigid, but I'm going to use it as almost like not a pencil board, but just so that my hand doesn't leave marks on the paper. And let's start with the first one, which is Birmingham Pen Co. Barley. So this looks like quite a light yellow color. So there's a beautiful light, kind of green leaning yellow. I don't really think I have anything in my collection like that. I have a couple of bright yellows, like sunshine yellows, but nothing like that. I really like that. I wonder how legible it is in a fountain pen. Okay, so this next one is also from Abie W, and this one is called Salamander, and she said this is one of her favorites. Ooh, yeah, that's nice. It's going down kind of a aqua-ish bluish green. That's really cool. I don't know if it's going to dry bluer or greener, because the wet part is still sort of this more vibrant green and the dry part is blue, but it has shifted from its initial color too. So fascinating. I think this one probably has quite a bit of shading in it. So onto the samples that Abie R sent me. So this one is Molten Tin, and you can see even in the vial that it's this purpley color. I wonder how it's going to dry. Often these inks look completely different wet than they do dry. Ooh, oh, that is pretty. We can see it's kind of shifting to a bluish color now as it's drying. Unusual name. I have no idea what Molten Tin looks like. I guess it's bluish purple, unless that's just an arbitrary name. But yeah, it's drying a lot bluer than when it went down. It was a very sort of violety purple, but going a little sort of a grayish blue. Ooh, that is really nice, and has a bit of haloing around there. I like that one. Okay, the next one is Antique Sepia. I've been wanting to try this for so long. I was so excited when I saw that Abie had it. Oh, isn't that weird? It's kind of like Troublemaker Kelp Tea a little bit. Wow, that is weird. And it's drying into this pinkish brown color. That's interesting. It's a little lighter than I thought. I thought it would be a little darker. Not that I'm disappointed, I just had a different idea in my brain. It's a little bit like Evening Mist too, the Ostrich ink Evening Mist. The next one is Eroded Bronze. I can see some purple coming through as well. And then this one is Birmingham Pen Co. Burlywood. This looked like a really sort of richy, yellowy, honeyish brown. Ooh, yeah. That is a weird color. It's kind of a little bit like Nostalgic Honey, I think, but it's quite a syrupy ink too. Ooh, I like that one. I wonder if it's going to dry more orange or more yellow. All right, this next one is called, oh, this is the Birmingham Interstellar Bronze. And Abby was telling me that this one is kind of a weird ink and it sheens like crazy and it takes forever to dry. And apparently she said that even Birmingham Pen Co. say to dilute it or to mix it with something else to kind of tone it down a little bit. So I think I'm going to do a swatch full strength and then maybe we'll try doing something else with it and see if it, maybe we'll put some dilution solution in there and maybe mix it with something else and see. Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh. It's almost iridescent from where I'm looking because the light is reflecting off it. What a weird color. Oh my gosh. It's this green hyper sheen here, and then it's a really sort of vibrant mustard yellowy green. That is weird. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think I like it, but it's a little weird. It's so great when you're using it, you get both of those colors straight away. Like a lot of the time when something is sheening, you have to wait for it to dry, but this is like instant. This is such a weird color. What is this called? Interstellar Bronze. Kind of like it. It's such a drastic difference. You know, I think with shimmer, this would look really good too. I wonder if we should try mixing some mica powder in with it and see what it looks like. Maybe let's do that. So I just have a bunch of these little packets of mica powder from, because I make watercolors as well, and you can mix the mica in there. So I'm gonna put like a teeny weeny little bit in some of this, and let's see what it looks like. Because I think this will be a beautiful shimmering color. It's kind of weird right now, the way that it is. That yellow color is a bit odd. Ooh, and it's bleeding a little bit too. That's interesting. Well, let's just put a little bit of mica powder in here. I'm just going to use a toothpick just to get a teeny little bit out. And I'm not going to be too scientific about this. I dip my brush in here and then mix it together. And should we do some dilution solution too? You know what? Let's just do this first. And see if any of that shimmer comes through. I don't think I have enough on here to actually be able to write with it, but I think that the shimmer, like this gold shimmer, is just going to add a little bit more appeal to that color underneath, because I don't know, it looks super weird right now. But also I am a bit concerned about the bleeding of that. All right, so here are all of our dried swatches. So let's take a look in a little more detail. So first up we have Barley, which is a very light sort of yellowy color with it's kind of a lean to the green. It doesn't look very green on camera, but in real life there's a little bit of a sort of a vibrancy to that, which is a bit green leaning. And I thought this would be a little darker because it's named Barley. It's kind of more of a wheat color to me. I always think of Barley as a little deeper than that, more like what's going on in the haloing here. But it's really pretty. It has some nice shading, so that's really lovely. Then we have Salamander, which dried out to be fairly like a deep teal color with a little bit more of a foresty green up in here, but really nice shading, beautiful color. Then we have Molten Tin, which is looking a little purple on screen. It's actually a little bluer than this, and there is a tiny bit of duo shading, but it's quite subtle, but you can't really see it on camera, but it's really beautiful, has some gorgeous shading in here. Then we have Antique Sepia, which is kind of this purpley gray color. At first I thought it was going to be similar to Pennsylvania Fieldstone. As you can see, this has a lot more pink in it, the Pennsylvania Fieldstone, but this does have a little bit of that purpley pink in it, but more, I would say, more of a gray. Off camera it looks slightly brown too, but it doesn't really show up on the film here. And then we have Eroded Bronze, which is sort of a subdued blue with a little bit of purple duo shading, and it's really nice. You don't see the purple as much in the text, but you can definitely see it in this high saturation swatch here. Then we have Burlywood, which I thought was a little bit like Nostalgic Honey, but completely different, so not really sure what I was thinking there. It's funny when you're putting ink down, it kind of reminds you of something, and then on my brain I just kind of grab the nearest thing to what I think it is, but obviously that's very different. This has way more yellowy golden tones in it, whereas this has a little bit of a greenish brown to it, and I just love it in the text here. I think depending on what pen you put in, you'd probably get a lot of really nice shading with that. And then we have our super weird Interstellar Bronze, and you can see that bleeding that I was talking about. So I think when you're putting it down really thick, that's probably what's going to happen, because it didn't do that in the other one. There's a little bit with this one here. But anyway, this was the full saturation of it. And then I mixed it with a little bit of gold mica, which you can see here. It's super subtle, but I think it just lends a little bit more interest to that base color. And when it was drying, it was really quite yellow, but it's dried to more of an olivey green. It's still not showing that neon quality that it is on the paper. It's on film, it's not as weird, I don't think. And then this is with the dilution solution, which I don't think changed the color too much. I think it was just easier to apply, and you don't really get any of the sheen. And on here, actually, on the Kikuyo paper, it is not really sheening that much at all. So I actually did do a couple of different samples on different paper because it's advertised as a very high sheening ink, and I don't know why it didn't sheen on my Kikuyo. It normally shows all the different aspects of the ink, but it just doesn't show this. So I did it on some Tomoe River, so this is the 52 GSM, and you can see that little hint of sheen there. It's a very sort of beautiful reflective green. Then I did some on Cosmo Light, which shows a lot of sheening as well, and this is still, you can see my fingerprint in it. It did not dry, and if you get this anywhere, it will break out into a neon yellow green when you wet it. When you wash your hand, the soap's going to turn like neon yellow, so super duper weird. So I would advise not putting it down too thick, and maybe I didn't put it down thick enough on here for it to get that sheen, and that's why it's not doing it, because I laid it down pretty thick. And then this one is insane. This is on my marker paper, which I like to do all of my swatches on to keep in my binder, because it just shows everything. It shows all the shimmer, sheen, and shading, but you can see that really super intense sheen on here. And again, this is like still sticky to the touch. So I think it's a really interesting ink, and I also put it in a pen at full strength just so you can see that duo color. I'm not sure if it's picking up on the camera, but it's like a neon mustard yellow and then a green, and it's just really bizarre. So I really kind of like that. I don't know how it's going to go in this pen. I just put it in a Jinhao because I was kind of scared of the sheen. So I'll let you guys know if it dries out or if it acts weird or whatever, but it wrote really smoothly and it was really nice. I also did a couple of other little experiments with this color because it's just so freaking fascinating. I decided to put some on some watercolor paper because I thought it really looked like a composting leaf color. So I thought I'd just do like a quick little water diffusion test, and you can see how it kind of broke out into all these different colors. It went down almost fluorescent green, and then as it dried it got browner and browner, and you can see with these marks here I just used a glass pen to texturize the paper, so you can kind of push when you use watercolors. If you scratch the paper or get any marks on here, the watercolor tends to seep into those grooves and make it darker. So I thought I would just try that with this ink, and you can see where I put down little drops of water, it really diffused it, and it has this beautiful diffusion border here, the little halo effect which happens when you have a bunch of water and it pushes the ink to the edges. So I just thought these were really interesting. I think this ink has a lot of potential with art. Just really, really fun. So I'm excited to keep playing with that. But Birmingham Pen Company inks are just so interesting. Yeah, so I think that's all the swatching I have for today. I will do the Warringal ones next, and I'll try and post them pretty close together because I'm sure you want to see those too. And yeah, so I hope this was helpful, and thanks for joining me, guys, and thanks to both the Abies for this swap, and I'm looking forward to swatching all the other ones out. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!